The start of the school year is both exciting and chaotic. When it comes to the back to school season, there is never a shortage of skills to teach. SEL or social emotional learning, character traits, literacy skills, and the science of reading, the list goes on and on. One task that must not be forgotten during these first 2 or 3 weeks of school is assessments. Those of you that know me know that differentiated instruction is kind of my thing. I am a huge advocate for not only teaching in small groups, but also specifically planning instruction that meets each group's needs. In order to do that, you must first learn what each individual student needs the most. When it comes to students reading below grade level, the following areas must be addressed in the order that I list them. First, phonics, then fluency and comprehension. Now, I know what you're thinking. Yes, there are two other components in the science of reading, which are phonemic awareness and vocabulary. And although those two are very important, they may not necessarily need to be assessed at the start of the school year because they can be addressed with the others during your small group instruction. In this episode, we are going to get the most bang for our buck and only assess the skills that are most necessary. Again, having a shortage of skills to teach at the beginning of the year is never going to be the case. So I want to make sure that we get the most out of each assessment. After all, the beginning of the school year is a busy time. Depending on your grade level, you can either assess all of your students or just assess the students who are below. So how do you know who to assess? That is a great question. First, definitely review your district's guidelines. I have found that each district goes about assessing their students in a slightly different manner. What I have discovered about primary grade teachers in particular is that most districts have their primary grade teachers assess all of their students, since the majority of their students are still learning how to read. Upper grade teachers, however, may benefit from only assessing the students who are reading below grade level. And the purpose of doing this is to learn why they are reading below grade level. The next question I want to address is, how do you know when to assess? Now, the first round of assessments should definitely be at the start of the school year, thus this podcast episode. This will act as a baseline for the school year and will help you assign small groups for both your instruction and your intervention, which, by the way, you should be doing both all year. After that, I would recommend giving the same assessments again after each round of intervention. And intervention typically lasts between 6 to 8 weeks. But again, check in with your district or your school to make sure that this timeline fits in with their expectations. The point of all these assessments is to monitor growth, regroup students, and adjust instruction. First, these assessments are used to track student progress, because without them, how do we know if our students have met grade level or not? Once a student reaches grade level, that student's goals and instructions should be changed accordingly. These assessments can also be used as evidence, if needed, during parent-teacher conferences, SST meetings, and so on. Second, these assessments can be used to rearrange your small groups. Your groups should be flexible groups, meaning that they change regularly throughout the year. At the very least, they should be changing after each round of intervention, which again is about every 6 to 8 weeks. Last, the assessments we're giving at the beginning of the year should be informing us if our instruction is effective. Now, this is not personal. I repeat, it's really not personal. As teachers, we have a whole plethora of instructional tools in the tool belt. We need help selecting which ones to use. And these assessments will inform us whether a student is making progress towards their goals, given whatever tools we've selected. If not, we know it's time to try a different teaching strategy. Next, I want to address the question of what. How do you know what to assess? And this is the bread and butter of this episode, folks. What should we assess when it comes to literacy? First of all, these assessments should be administered one-on-one by the classroom teacher. It is imperative that the person responsible for delivering instruction actually see the students read. You get a lot of good information from those observations. In terms of types of assessments, each student should be assessed in this order: comprehension, then fluency, and then phonics. Honestly, this is especially true for you upper grade teachers out there. Now, this doesn't mean that each student needs to be given 3 assessments. If a student is struggling to answer questions about a reading passage, for example, stop the assessment and then assess their fluency. They might be struggling to comprehend the text because they are not reading fluidly. And if a student has to stop every other word when reading, it's nearly impossible to understand the overall message of the text. The same goes with phonics. If a student is struggling to read fluently, stop the test and assess their phonics skills instead. Because it's possible that if a student isn't reading fluently, it's because they haven't committed their phonics skills to memory. Automaticity might not be there yet. The good news? All of these issues are fixable. Yes, completely fixable. This is true no matter the grade level. So let's spend the rest of our time together and take a closer look at each type of assessment and which skills to look for when you're planning your small group instruction. We're first going to start with a comprehension assessment. And this is, of course, important for any grade level, but upper grade teachers, you should definitely be starting by assessing your students' comprehension to see who is reading below grade level. Now, in terms of comprehension, there are several ways to assess this. Even a simple conversation with a student would suffice. It's at least a good starting point. What I would recommend doing is asking a variety of questions, including those that assess explicit information, like identifying the setting, those that assess the main idea or theme, and those that assess higher order thinking skills, such as inferencing. The exciting news is that I have just created a brand new product line of nonfiction passages. The first product in this line is themed for back to school, and it's absolutely perfect for upper grade teachers. Make sure to head to my blog, learninginprogress.com/blog, to check them out. The link is there. The next type of assessment that all teachers should focus on at the start of the school year is the fluency assessment. And fluency can be assessed with really any running record. It is not just about how fast a student can read, but rather, as teachers, we need to pay close attention to the type of mistakes that they're making when they're reading a passage. Do they read phrases together, or are they reading one word at a time? Are they dropping the endings of words? Are they consistently missing certain phonics skills, such as the magic E or R-controlled vowels? A lot of times there's a discrepancy between students being able to read individual words and then authentically reading within a passage. I would recommend using a tracker to keep track of their mistakes while they're reading. Now, if you're looking for an example, again, head to my blog because I include an image and a link there if you're looking for something to help you get started. Now, the link that's on there are passages that are themed for the season, and I have one for every single month. I kid you not, it's all laid out for you, and the best part is that these passages are differentiated. They include 4 levels for each text, and each text also targets a specific phonics skill, so you can actually use these passages for your actual instruction. Follow me on Instagram if you want some more tips like this. Also, make sure to check out, there's a how-to video that I put on my blog. I really want to help you see this technique as being easy to manage. The next assessment that I want to discuss is the phonics assessment. Now, this assessment starts with short vowels and then goes all the way up to diphthongs. So a lot of times I'll have teachers ask me, is there a specific order that phonics should be taught? And my answer is a resounding yes. There is definitely a specific order. So if you're looking for that order, I actually have a free assessment. Kid you not, it's free, but the order listed on that assessment has really been proven to benefit kids when they're learning to decode. So make sure you check that out. Similar to the fluency assessment, it is important to note the type of mistakes that students are making. So make sure that you jot those mistakes down on your teacher copy. Now, if you're looking for that phonics assessment, it is on my blog again, but I include both a student copy and a teacher copy. And there's even actually a scoring guide on there. So that's really going to help you get started with your small group instruction. So make sure you download that. Well, there you have it. Assessments to jumpstart your differentiated instruction. You may be asking yourself, okay, now what? Well, you're in luck, and I'm so glad you asked that question because next month we are going to tackle how to plan small group instruction around phonics and phonemic awareness. We're going to take these assessment results and plan lessons and activities that will target your individual students' goals. That blog post will go live on September 7th, and the podcast episode will air on September 8th. Until then, feel free to either read up or listen to ways that you can differentiate your Science of Reading centers. I have a post and a podcast episode that will teach you there's more than one way to group your students. And spoiler alert, you don't have to group them according to their reading levels. I can't wait to chat with you again. And as always, feel free to email me, send me a DM on Instagram, Learning in Progress, or simply add a comment if you want to brainstorm ideas or if you have any questions. I wish you the best back to school season ever, and make sure to always keep learning.